back to my channel. I hope you all are doing well. For today's video, we're going to dive into the world of bronzing and contouring, the differences, how to do it and everything. I recently did my base makeup tutorial and a lot of you wanted to know how I do contouring and bronzing like an in-depth way, and today's video is going to be exactly that. So yes, without any further ado, if you want to know more about bronzing and contouring, then please keep on watching. Today I'm going to be using my NYX contouring palette. It's pretty dirty because it's well loved and used, but you don't really need to buy a palette because what ends up happening more often than not is that you end up using just one shade that really works for you and the others just remain pristine. The good thing about this palette is that you can buy individual shades as well as a refill, so you don't need to buy the whole palette over and over again if there's a particular shade that you like and works for you. However, I have to say palettes do work out when you talk about the affordability of it. So if you're a makeup artist, you get a whole lot of shades under a budget and you don't have to buy a lot of stuff and it doesn't become bulky. If you are an individual who just has to use one shade and you don't need to do makeup on multiple skin tones, you can just buy one shade, and that's why I will be leaving a link for you guys where I talk about my favorite bronzers and contours from last year. So check out the description box and you will find all of the information right there. Let's talk about the basic things so all of the concepts are clear in our head. Now, bronzing means adding color to your skin, adding warmth to your skin. When we apply our foundation and concealers, it tends to take away all of the color from our skin, especially if you use higher coverage foundations like I have done right now, or how I like to do on a general basis as well. It takes away all of the color and your face tends to look very flat, so it looks more one-dimensional and not 3D. Now, of course, it will look 3D because it is 3D, but especially when you're looking at me through a screen, you would feel like my face is pretty flat and it doesn't have any dimension to it, nor does it have any feature to it. That is why we add a little bit of warmth back to our skin once we are done with covering up everything, so that it can look more 3D, look more natural, and look more sun-kissed. So that is bronzing. So next time when someone tells you Indian women don't need bronzing, just tell them bronzing is not meant for a particular skin tone. It's meant for everyone because it's adding that dimension back to your skin. I used to get this so much back in the day that, oh my god, you're an Indian and you still use bronzer, what a wannabe. I mean, that's a basic technique of makeup, but okay, your choice. Now let's move on to contouring because that's the more fun part according to me. Now, contouring back in the day or even today in Bollywood and a lot of shooting sets is known as cutting, and that's what it exactly does. Contouring means adding a shadow to your face so that it makes you look more sculpted and more chiseled, and it takes away a lot of weight from your face. Now, that's necessarily not that bad because contouring is mostly used on cameras because camera tends to add weight to you. So what I'm looking like right now is not what I would look in real life, and that of course doesn't mean texture, but it means weight. I would be about 20% slimmer than what I'm looking right now in the camera because the more high-tech, more high-def the camera is, the more weight it adds to you, sadly. Anyway, so contouring is using a grayer or a more cooler tone shadow of brown and just adding it to areas to make sure that the excessive fat is cut away from there and you look more chiseled and your features look more sharper and more enhanced. Now that is the basic science between bronzing and contouring and how they're different from one another. Now this is a completely personal opinion. Of course, you can have your own makeup, is super subjective, and I think everyone has their own, ways of doing it. I truly feel that you can do bronzing and let contouring be. Like, you don't need to specifically do contouring every single time you bronze up your skin, especially if you're not going to be on camera like I am or like a lot of film stars are, or if you're not going to be getting photographed. For example, if you're going to a wedding and you're like really close to the person who's getting married and you know you're going to be photographed, you might want to cut away that excess fat that the camera will be adding to you. But if you are contouring, I would suggest that you do bronze every single time because contouring adds shadow, so it can make you look slightly unhealthy, and that's why adding the warmth back to your skin really helps in balancing all of those cool tones out. That is, again, my personal opinion. You can have a different opinion as well and it's completely fine. I'm someone who loves to bronze. Like, I used to not wear blush back in the day, but bronzer all over my cheeks because I love that sun-kissed look. It just makes me look really nice and I just love that look so much. But of course, it's completely, again, as I said, your choice. If you want to just contour and head out, again, completely fine. Now, bronzing and contouring is something that can change your face. It can literally change your face and how you do it. So we're going to be showing you two techniques. I'm also going to show you the difference between just bronzing and just contouring so you guys can see how different they look on my skin. And I'm going to be using two different brushes today, but in my base tutorial I've shown you that you can use just one brush and be fine with it. So I'm going to be using this pack brush for my bronzing and this Huda Beauty brush for my contouring because I do like a more pointed brush when it comes to contouring, as I can really get it nice and defined, while this one really helps in nicely spreading out the color because I love to fluff out my bronze and just, make it look all over. With my pat brush, I'm going to pick up this warm bronzer shade right here, and these powders are pretty pigmented, so you either want to tap it off on the back of your hand or you want to tap off the excess with the help of just tapping it away. You don't want to go in with a lot of powder. It's always easier to build up, but to take away something, especially that's super pigmented, is difficult. So start small and build it up if you need to. Now, the placement of your bronzer and contour are super important because they will define your face and how your features are brought out as well. You want to go slightly, ever so slightly above the hollows of your cheekbones. How to find them? Make a fishy face. The good old technique. The fishy face will show you where your hollows exactly fall. So for me, it's right here. So I'm going to go slightly, ever so slightly above it. So I'm going to start from here. So I'm going to tap and place my bronzer right here. And I'm going to bring it up, okay? So I'm going to bring it up like this because it just adds more youthfulness to your face almost. I'm going to show you another way of how you can make your face look more structured and more angular if that's the look you want to go for, especially if you have a rounder face and you don't want to round it up even more. For me, I like my face to look slightly more rounder. So I'm just going to place my product right here and then I'm going to start to blend it out in circular motions. It's more important to place it first because you want an even distribution of product and no patchiness. If you go directly in circular motions from here, you will have most of the product right here and then patchiness as you come down. So just tap and place the product and then blend it out in circular motions. You also want to make sure that you blend it into your hairline so it doesn't look like it's starting from after a point and there's a particular stark line of demarcation of your foundation. So just go ahead and blend it till you're happy with how strong the bronzer looks. If you place the bronzer lower than your hollow of the cheekbones, it will drag your face down and will also make your face look muddy. So that's something you want to totally avoid. Place it slightly higher. It also gives you more definition and just cuts away a lot of weight as well. Now hopefully you can see the difference of how this side is looking more structured than this side. This side is looking flat and one-dimensional while this side has more life to it. It just looks more lively, as I would like to say. Okay, let's show you contouring on this side. So I picked up my Huda Beauty brush and I'm going to pick up this shade right here. It's a cool tone shade and again I'm just going to tap off the excess on the back of my hand and I'm going to show you a more structured look here. So again, I'm just going to tap this product right above, slightly above the hollows of my cheekbone and I'm going to bring it down like that towards my jawline. So we are making an L almost, if you can see, and then again I'm going to start to blend it out so that it's nice and blended out. With your contour you want to be slightly more precise than you were with your bronzer. With your bronzer you can just apply it all over and it doesn't really matter, but with your contour you want to keep it precise and keep it tight so that it can actually structure and define your face more. I really hope that the camera is picking up the difference of how this side is looking more strong and more structured while this side is looking more round and more softer. It's really important to know what placement works for your face and what you like. So use this quarantine period and play around with makeup and see what you like so that once you go out in the real world, it's game over for everyone. Now these are the power of bronzer and contour separately. So I'm going to go back in with my contour and my same brush and I'm going to apply it right here. So I'm going to keep it pretty on the lower side and keep it precise as I've said. Again, going in with circular motions and making sure that the product is nicely placed out. I'm going to be contouring this side so you can see how when you add both of them together, it's just the most phenomenal combo. Do you see that? Do you see that? Do you see how that brings life back to your face? I love bronzing and contouring. Now, of course, I have to give you some helpful and practical tips as well. So I have applied a little bit more bronzer on this side, which looks a little too strong. A very quick and easy way to handle that is to go back into your powder. Just pick up a little bit of your powder and go over the edges of your bronzer. This will soften up your bronzer. You can also go all over your bronzer to just tone down the color a little, because if you try to blend out the bronzer a little too much, what can happen is it can go all over the place, and that is something you don't want to do. You want to still keep it pretty in the zone. With the bronzer you can still go slightly overboard than you can with the contour, but you still want to keep it in the same area. You don't want to drag it down. You always want to blend up, which is another important tip. Never blend down. So you can just take your powder and go on top of your bronzer to soften it right back up. Now, a couple of other areas that you want to quickly hit up with your bronzer are going to be your forehead, because it is one of the areas that naturally tends to catch tan quicker than the rest of your face. So you really want to hit it up right there because it will look more cohesive. Without this, it would just look like you have two stripes of bronzer and contour. But once you add this to your forehead, it would look like, more naturalish, if you know what I mean. And you also want to hit it on your jawline again, just to add a little bit of more cohesiveness to the look. What is more important on the jawline is the actual contour shade, because that is where cutting takes place. As I told you guys, back in the day, Bollywood used the term cutting so that the actresses and the actors could get rid of their double chin with the help of makeup, which is why I freaking love makeup. Exercise? No. Dieting? No. Just need one grey tone of powder and you're good to go. Going into my contour, I'm going to be applying it on my jawline. Now I have a small forehead, so I don't really contour my forehead. If you have a larger forehead and you want it to look slightly smaller, then you can definitely just go on the perimeter of the forehead. Now with contouring, it's important to remember that you have to choose a perimeter of the bronzer that you're going to be applying it to. For the cheekbones, it's going to be the lower end, so you apply it here, you don't apply it higher, so you apply it on the one end of the bronzer. For your forehead, it's going to be the upper perimeter of the bronzer, so that you apply it here and the bronzer transcends down but the contour stays there. With the jawline, again, it's going to be the upper perimeter because you want to cut that double chin off. Now, I'm no authority on nose contour because I rarely contour my nose. I think it looks a little too much on me, but I'm going to quickly show you what I do for my nose. So I just take the same brush and I pinch it together to make it thinner because it's too much to get different brushes for everything, and I go a little cuckoo in the head if I do that. And what I try to do is I like to keep it slightly on the narrower side of things. So I have a very less amount of product. Like literally I just touch it and that's it. And I still try to like dab off a little bit. So I try to keep it as close as possible so that the nose looks slimmer. The thing about nose contour is that you have to keep the darker shadows close to each other. If you keep them wide apart, then it's going to defeat the whole purpose and it's going to make your nose look wider. If that is your purpose, then amazing. If you have like super thin nose and you want it to look wider, then you can of course place the contouring color wide apart. But if you want it to look slimmer, just place them as closely as you can without disturbing the bridge of your nose. So I'm going to place them really close together. I'm going to flip onto a clean brush side and I'm just going to blend it out. Again, you can go in with your powder brush and just go over all of these areas, including your forehead and your jawline, to soften everything up. Time for another tip. If at any point you feel like you've gone overboard with your contour or with your bronzer and it's at places it doesn't need to be, just go back in with the brush that you did your concealer with and clean things up. Now make sure you don't use powder all over your face before this. You can always powder it down after, because if you've already powdered your whole face, then the concealer on top of powder can look a little cakey. I just powder my under eyes and my around mouth area. I don't really powder the whole of my face, but this just really cleans up your contour and it also adds a little bit more definition to your face. I do reverse contouring as well, where I use my highlighter concealer on my under jaw area, but again, if you've already seen my base video, you would know this fact. I also like to go on the center of my nose so that it cleans up any excess contour or bronzer that might have just gone over there and my nose looks more snatched. So now that we've applied our concealer and cleaned up the areas that we needed to clean up, go back in with your powder and just set it down so that it doesn't move, doesn't budge. I don't use a lot of powder, a very little amount, and this also helps in making sure everything is nicely blended together and it's not stuck at all. So I'm just gonna be blending everything out. Now those are the only steps I like for my contouring and bronzing, nothing more, nothing less. But there are people who do take contouring and bronzing a step further. They contour their lips and everything. I'm not talking about lip contouring by Huda Beauty, but they add the contour powders under their lip to make it look fuller. Now I personally don't do it. I feel like it's a little too much, to be honest, but if you have smaller lips and you want them to look slightly more fuller, just take a little bit of your powder. Again, I'm just going to pinch it together to make it thinner. I'm going to apply it on the under part of my lips, just a little bit. You don't want to go overboard with it. This instantly adds a little bit of shadow underneath your lips and it makes your lips look fuller. Like, look at that difference, instant, right? In short, contouring is all about playing with shadows and making them work to your advantage. I'm quickly going to finish up my base with some blush, highlighter and setting spray. Again, you can refer to my in-depth base tutorial to know how I do it, and I'll be right back. And with that, we finish this video. I hope you guys enjoyed this and found this helpful. Do let me know if you'd like to see more such in-depth tutorials on other makeup techniques, and I would love to do it for you guys. I'll see you guys next time. Till then, take care. I love you all so much. Mwah. Bye.